Let's talk about whether I might survive Vegas and show up.
Ooh, there
Hello.
you go. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone.
Welcome to the Art of War YouTube channel.
We are 40K today.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time, but yeah.
All the time.
We've got stuff. We've got
Yeah.
things. The meta's all out there. I'm not going to lie. I already went into it in Meta Monday, but man, if you're playing in team events right now, the meta is excellent.
Yep. 100%. The team event meant like we just had a Team Canada scrim with Northern Ireland, the Northern Ireland team, because they're really practicing very, very hard. And Team 40K is the best type of 40K. And this weekend is the 40K team event in Vegas, which is going to be crazy awesome, put on by the Frontline Gaming crew. How excited are you, Brad?
I'm super psyched. I actually haven't. I've been playing a lot of 40K, but I haven't played a tournament in a hot minute. Uh, and I'm putting all of my tournaments together in 1 month.
Yep.
So all you got to do is 5 weeks, 4 tournaments, all of them
Yep.
over 150 people. No big deal. So
Yep.
I do have to figure out how I'm getting into your country. So I have to figure out exactly what I need for my COVID test before I get there, because you guys require a special note from my mom that I don't have a temperature besides
Correct.
a regular COVID test.
Yeah, that's right. You need to form up and come play with us, Mr. Brad. Although I'm excited to see you in person and roll some dice with you at the Sort of Snotling. So
I'm
there's a couple
psyched.
of things. Well, yeah, there's a couple of new releases that happened this week, or
100%.
the week that came up. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about FAQs. We're going to talk
We've
about
got a full
um,
docket, man.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So why don't you get it rolling there, Mr.
Well, let's
Brad?
let's go with the FAQs first. We had the Thousand Suns and the Grey Knights FAQ, and I thought both of them brought a little bit of the mojo out there, because they did clear up a few things. I know that a lot of people want a little bit more from their FAQs, and I do think that they could have done more, but I like when they touch things.
They did, but they didn't touch them too heavily,
Correct. Yeah,
right?
that's what
Like
I'm saying. I'd rather have them touched,
yeah,
sprinkled on.
because if you take we could talk about FAQs. We could have a whole video on just FAQs, and I'm sure everyone watching will have an opinion on, whether or not Games Workshop does the right thing by putting out these FAQs, right? Or they could do more, they could do less, etc., etc. I do remember both a time when there were no FAQs ever, right? And you had
Oh, dude.
maybe one FAQ like 3 years after Codex
Yeah.
was
If
released.
something was broken, well,
It was
it was
broken
broken till the next edition.
for a very long time.
Well,
And then you have on the opposite side, like what they did with like Eldar and Inari, when instead of like looking at the core
oh
mechanics of
no.
the
They
interaction,
came off the
they like
top ring
they
rope.
just like were like, oh, are they too good?
Yeah.
I mean,
They
to
put the
this
beats
day,
on.
yeah, to this day, they sort of overreacted to what the Craftworld Codex could do, and Craftworlders have been sort of like feeling the repercussions of
Yeah.
this for like a whole edition and a
They have
half.
been paying for their father's sins for so
Yeah,
long now.
yeah.
But yeah, you know what, the thing that I actually wish they had done, because they pinned it down with AdMech. The
Yep,
Wrath of Mars, for instance, does 6
yep,
mortal wounds. However,
yep.
the Tide of Convergence, they said it does 6 mortals, but they did not fix the verbiage, because now it says a unit cannot suffer more than 6 mortal wounds. So again, gives you that.
You can do
So
like 6 here and 6 there, and
exactly.
yeah, okay. So it's like if you split your attacks, you do all this
Exactly.
stuff.
And the thing is that you can also stack those with Words of Power, which means that you actually have a 12 mortal wound per unit cap right now, unless somebody words it differently. But that is what they did with the Wrath of Mars. They actually said that the unit just does this many. It didn't.
Yeah,
They just worded it poorly. They say a unit cannot suffer, which means that if I attack 3 different units, they can all take 6 in this
yep.
verbiage. I think that they're probably going to fix it so that it is like Wrath of Mars.
Yeah,
But
rules as intended. they probably are. Like they've been going more on the tame
Yeah,
side of like FAQs. You know what I mean? Like when there's something that seems like good or a little too good, GW has been on the receiving end of, okay, you know what? Let's kind of tone it down a little bit. You know what I mean?
100%.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised that that they did word it that way. But I
Mhm.
thought that there's very little in this. I mean, they did a Empiric Declamation, Vortex of Doom, and the only things in here really. I can't say just really they are the only things in here, but I think the big
Yep.
thing was Tide of Grudges. I think that they meant to do something that isn't going to happen because right now, if I want to take my 5-man squad and I want to get my maximum mortals, I'm going to take 2 guys into one squad and 3 guys into the other squad, pop Words of Power, already in Tides of Convergence, and I'm going to do the same amount of mortals I was going to do before, maximum.
Just split up
hmm
basically,
I thought they did
which
a
makes sense. You know what I mean?
yeah, I did think that
Yeah.
they did a very good job. Other people will think otherwise, but I'm here for my unpopular opinions. I thought they did good. They did well on an initial touch on the Thousand Suns. They explained some of the stratagems. For instance,
Yep.
schemes of change.
Yep.
They explained that you could basically change all of your secondaries. They
By
explained
the way, on a side note, that is so powerful at a
in
competitive level.
the
It is
times that well, we were talking about it.
ridiculous.
It's not going to be play. John and I talked about it in the social that we did on Friday.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not going to make any difference most of the time, but the time that you need it. We pulled. This is my favorite example of it. You and I are playing, and you think I'm going to come at you very very aggressively, and we're playing retrieval, and then all of a sudden we
Yep.
flip over secondaries, and I go till the last, minimize losses and banners, and you chose all of your secondaries based on the fact that I'm playing Space Wolves only hand to hand, and now you're like, well, crap. I thought he was going to be doing this. That's
Yeah.
when this becomes huge because you can go, I'm not going to score any of those secondaries anymore.
Nope.
I need
Yep.
to flip this out. It's so funny because it's one of those things where most of the time doesn't mean anything, but the times when it does, it's going to mean everything.
Oh,
That's it.
100%. And it's anything that gives you, and you and I have talked about this before, like redeployment and stuff. And all of these are really good topics that we talk about in the in the war room when we do clinics and things like that. So this is giving it to an army like Thousand Suns in that FAQ, or like clarifying it. I think it's really cool. Another thing they clarified as well was the use of the Cabal points to automatically cast a power at its minimum value, and the fact that you can sort of like work up smite and be
Well,
like,
and you can also use the warp
yeah,
regeneration stratagem on it. They use
correct.
that as a specific. The only thing
Yep.
that I don't know is how they calculate it. So if I want to smite and it smites at 9 and Magnus cast it, does he automatically get a mega smite? Do you put on the modifiers after you get the minimum cast value?
Well, I would assume as much because it just
That's what I thought. I just
counts
want to make
the
sure it's
cost plus then you add the modifiers on top of that, right? Like I would assume as much.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I want to make sure, but I think they did a good job. They talked about exactly how conniving plate works. They that you can put on the plus after somebody has denied the witch, so you can get over their deny the witch, and then they can't do anything about it, which makes that cabal ritual so powerful because you can manipulate things. So, and the thing is Thousand Suns did well over the weekend. You know what I mean? I think that people are starting to get some combos in. They're starting to really use those ritual points, which I think are very, very strong when you're
The
using.
amount of versatility it gives you is great, and we saw this in some of the events this weekend. Not only that, but Grey Knights came out swinging. Like, and there were a few GTs at an international level or even majors that had Grey Knights and Thousand Suns literally battling out against each other
At
in
top
the
tables. Yep.
finals. Yeah, at top tables
And
all across the world.
they did. The thing is that I I was actually happy to see because Kalel over in Sweden had like the one Grey Knight list which didn't look like everyone else's list. It had a Libby, it had purifiers, it had some random stuff because everybody else is either bringing strikes and interceptors or interceptors and dread knights, and those are the two knights lists you saw. It was nice to see something
Yep.
different. You're seeing a lot of different stuff in the Thousand Suns, and I think that
Yeah.
that actual FAQ did help a decent amount. Anything that basically clears up arguments and things that you have to have, give yourself more time of good games. You're going to do better. And this is the thing I actually want to bring up. I know this isn't a 40, this is 40K today, but prep, guys, because of the fact that the more smoothness, the more you know about your army, the more you know about the terrain, the more things that are, you can stop arguments. Like basically Scary and I are going to play a game right now. We agree on the terrain. We have our FAQs together. We know exactly what units do. You know the rulings that you're going to get for your interactions that might be complex interactions. If you figured, go talk to the TOs and stuff. Here, this is something that's not completely covered. Get that beforehand, because man, the more relaxed you are with those things, and basically the least amount of arguments you're gonna have, you're gonna play better. You're not gonna just have a better time. You're gonna play better. The more relaxed and chill you are, you're gonna play a better game. Your strategy is gonna be way better. You're just gonna be tactically better because you're not like, you're with your opponent and something went wrong, something was ruled against you, you didn't expect, and all of a sudden you're kind of, irritated out of your game. That's when you start making movement errors. That's when you start screwing up. To do yourself a favor to yourself. Give yourself a gift and make sure you know all your rules
Relax,
before.
chill out, and and it's always worth that conversation. TO first and opponent, second, basically. You know what I mean? Just to kind of make sure you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And then kind of like jumping around there, we had so that's like in tournament news, Orcs doing great, Admech still doing good with an army, for example, at the that was at top table that had a Castellan in it.
He had
Which,
everything, and he was
was awesome.
tri-factioned.
He was just crushing people.
Knights won a
It was
tournament
hilarious.
this weekend too, 5-0.
Yeah, Knights won a tournament this weekend. We've got Grey Knights and Thousands. So, as I said before, 40K right now, the most balanced game you've ever had, Brad. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it, and everybody can disagree with me, but it's nice to see not just missile launcher Space Wolves over and over again, or an Ari.
Well, the thing is that you've got a couple armies that are very, very, very good, probably a little bit better than everybody else. And that's why I love Team right now, because once you pull out some of the top performing armies, or maybe your bad matchup, all of a sudden you get into this. And Jack and I were talking about it in Meta Monday. He's disagreed a little bit because he thought things could be tiered out a little bit more, but I think there's a traffic jam in A. I think there's so many good armies. I think there's probably more. There's definitely more than a handful, but I think you probably could get into double digits and just say these are all. And I'm saying faction specific and builds, basically. You know what I mean? I think that there's probably 10 plus builds that are in this A tier.
Really, and even then, like you're saying yourself, like Grey Knights, with the new book, there's like 2 or 3 builds right now that we're seeing. There was one Mitch Pelham was talking about, Dread Knight Telemon build that he was kind of like working with, triple Telemon and like a bunch of Dread Knights. Anyway, so people are getting really creative, and we're starting to see like the meta it's bumping. You know what I mean? Like it's just things are happening.
There's just different stuff. And the thing is that I'm super looking forward to, and I keep saying this, if the more books we get, I love the meta more, because I really think that the best time to play Knock on Everything besides the end of 7th is when everybody has their tools, because we're going to get a Craft Word book, we're going to get a Tyranid book, we're going to get all of the Chaos stuff in 2022, and those big keywords basically give lots of interpretation. Yes, Chaos Soup.
We'll see. And talking about new releases, however, I see how you helped that segue. Boom, Black Templars just been teased. We saw the Primarish Crusader Squad, we saw the Marshall, we saw like their box set, which is looking
tasty.
Mint. It's amazing looking. I'm a sucker for Black Templars because they were my first army. I'm very excited about.
You got new Helbrecht. You've got
he's so cool looking.
Yeah,
he's got attendance on his base killing an orc. So not only modeling wise, but normally what happens when they release a nice new Space Marine model or a Space Marine range is
I love everything about the fact that he has a model where he killed an orc and his attendant's literally
like
cleaning his sword. Not like fixing anything, he's cleaning it. Gotta look sweet in case you're gonna take a selfie after you murder some folk. You gotta look boss mode.
Like, he literally looks like he's taking a pose for pose for the camera. He's like, I am stoic.
I
I
I
am a
will
zealous
I do
crusader.
challenge people to, instead of the model, which I do think the model's really sweet, but
Yeah.
if somebody, and I would love to see this, and I will immediately put it out as much as humanly possible, somebody model up the artwork model instead of just that model. Model's very cool, don't get me wrong, but the artwork for that model with the other attendants and everybody else is awesome sauce. It is
It is
super
awesome.
cool.
I'm very, very curious to see what they do with Black Templars. Like, super curious because they've also like shown off like in previous weeks the Primaris Empress champion. And if they gave Helbrecht the Primaris like,
Treatment.
Primaris treatment or whatever, like one can only assume like what else? They also like teased and in like the Repulsor Executioner that's in like that picture that they post, that thing has a multi-melter. Like that's not a normal option for a Repulsor Executioner. It has a multi-melter. Like, can Black Templars just take multi-melters on their Primaris tanks? Because that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of neat.
There's tons of stuff, and if you want to look for cool models that are GW and will be legal, to get them, obviously get them okayed by your TO. But some of the new Necromunda stuff that's just got released is super cool. They've been releasing stuff for a while. Love it.
Yep.
Also, if you're not playing it but you've
It was
seen it,
Gen Con this weekend, wasn't
yeah,
it? Like
yes,
so much stuff got released. Gen Con is like the like so much stuff. Necromunda, was it Blood Bowl? A
Blood,
new
everything.
series of like
Warcry, Necromunda, the
Warcry
Age of
stuff.
Sigmar stuff came up. And by the
The
way, Age of Sigmar models
yeah,
are fantastic. I'm
so cool.
I'm putting so I say I'm doing it. I'm having other people do it, of course. I have no skills, but I love Age of Sigmar models, especially the entire Daughters of Cain and everything. All of those models are
Mm-hmm,
fantastic in Drakari right
hmm
now. They are
hmm
amazing. Tons of good sculpts. Good job, GW, on that. If only everything
I
didn't
don't
cost a
have enough
million.
money for this, Brad. I
I
don't have enough money
That's what I
for
was gonna
this.
say. If they weren't like a zillion, it would be cooler. But there's some great stuff. I am really wondering what they're gonna do with Black Templars. I know that I'm in the thing, but I specifically was not a part of that, so I don't know anything about those. But there's certain things that I can't imagine survive. I can't imagine
So
Devout
excited.
Bush survives as it is right now because it is insanity.
It is too good. Like it is really too good to
100%.
be like verbatim what it is, and it is a supplement. So all the strengths of the Marine book are going to be in there, and I'm curious to see what flavor they put in. Because right now, competitively speaking, you can play like Ultramarines and do like a Dreadnought build. You can do like Death Watch and do like a combo bikers and kill teams and like Dreadnoughts. You can do. I've seen Iron Hands, or we've seen like the
Iron
Rise of
Hands has
Iron
been coming
Hands
back 100%.
coming back because of the durability that's inherent in the builds. You also see White Scars with their Vanguard veterans. Now you're seeing like Grey Knights, which are like a style of like White Scar army, but that can shoot as well as do combat. So
With
it's like
also some
very aggro.
psychics. Yeah.
Yeah, and the psychic stuff. You can and Salamander is still popular. Like Marines are popular, and Black Templars are a very popular chapter. Like
I really
Black
want them.
Templar players are die hard.
I,
So we'll
I, I
see.
hope they keep the double litanies for one because I love. Here's
The
my
double
thing:
what?
the fact that they have two litany charts.
Yep,
My thing
yep.
is that what I do miss about some of the Marines right now being supplements is I want the Black Templars to keep some of their uniqueness. Yes, they're a supplement, but I like my Marine chapters to have some flavor to them and make them what they are. You know what I mean? Not just
Yep.
I get a different bonus with the same type of army. I like the fact that the Black Templar lists don't look like other lists right now.
Yep.
So
No, it's anyway. So it'll be really cool to see. They kind of like the model collection is great. Gen Con was crazy. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming out of Gen Con.
they got a
Like,
ton of models, ton of
oh
models.
my goodness. All I was getting was like picture after picture after picture after picture of all this stuff, and it just looks phenomenal. And then of course, the Warhammer Plus stuff has been happening. They just relaunched the Age of Sigmar app this past week. Like if you're an Age of Sigmarite, I know this is 40K today, but they are putting,
Yes, but
it's lagging. Hopefully they would put some
if they will
effort into
give
it.
if they will put the age if the Age of Sigmar goes really well, I would love to see the 40K app get the same treatment. Because even
Just
right
one
now, we
40K
don't have
app. I
battle
want the
plan.
40K app to be Battlescribe. Like literally, just like look at Battlescribe, look at the 40K app, and go, huh? How can we make it our own and make it better? Games Workshop. It's like the one
Well,
gripe I have.
what's the one
It's
thing
like
that I
I want to
loved?
use it.
The one thing that I
Yeah.
loved about the Age of Sigmar part, you still don't even have, because they have battle plan where I could literally just go wink, hey Sky, there's my list, and you literally have all of the stats for everything. It's
What is it?
just
Even on like the the Warhammer website has like War Scroll Builder right on the Warhammer website where you can literally like build your list on the main website
yeah.
and it gives you every option. And that one's really like it's just good for points and
I,
everything. It's updated, all that stuff. It's
I,
fantastic.
I actually am. I'm still surprised they just haven't purchased Battle Scribe. So I don't know what's going on
Hey,
there.
where's the moolah? Come on, we
Yeah.
buy models. You should give us better apps.
I
Okay,
just
let's do it.
we all use Battlescribe right now, so I'm just so surprised that they either don't just embrace it
Ah,
or purchase
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, how did you put my army up? Yeah, I'm a regular human. I literally use Battlescribe and put it up there.
Yep.
So
Literally how that works. Anyway, moving on to the next topic conversation, Brad.
we've got tons of tournaments, and I want to talk about. We talked a little bit about the meta and stuff like that. I want to talk
Yep.
about what everybody, including yourself, thinks where we're going. Where you've already said that it's very good combo mix. Are we going to get more skewed armies? We have seen some people try some very skewed armies. Manny just won, for instance, and he's Mr. Skew, but he just played a 6-plane AdMech army with just a bunch of Lucius Blobs and 6 planes. We've seen obviously the buggy lists, and
Yep. Still really good.
we've seen some skewed list out there. Do you think that people are going to
Dread
start?
Knight skew,
Mhm.
like Dread Knights, Talon. So there's a skew list, like very hyper
Yeah.
focused.
Do you think
So
we're going to see
my
more of that with the fact that the meta is so open that people can't really tech for any one skew?
and I love it, by the way. I want to say I love that. But secondly, when did the ninth edition get started? A year and a half ago, 2 years
2 years
or
ago.
so? 2 years ago now. So when ninth edition began, I saw this like cycle that was gonna start where, you know, everybody was gonna love blast weapons, and then, like horde units were gonna kind of make smaller, and they were gonna have like small units, and then we saw the sort of like people move away from blast weapons, and then like the horde orcs came back, and I was like, hordes are gonna come back, and then blast weapons are gonna come back, and the hordes are gonna diminish, and now it's like hordes have diminished, and now it's like the vehicles have come back. It's like this cycle that's happening, but I feel like folks are going to have to start making more balanced lists to handle the skew, if that makes sense.
Because
Because
of
if
the
you're not careful and you
you
skew and
can't
you go
chase.
into a skew that out skews your skew,
Well, then you
you're
have
gonna
to
get
then you have to
skewered.
hope that you get you. That's the problem when you're chasing, because if you guess wrong, all of a sudden you are in a whole heap of trouble, boss. So there's a lot to be said for having more tools, because versatile armies, and there's a lot of people that are just say skewed. And the thing is that, and I'll tie this back into the team tournament that's happening this weekend, because I do want to
Yep.
talk about the team tournament, is the fact that you can go more skew in team because you can get away from the things that you're really bad against. But in singles events, you're hoping for the luck at that point in time, because there's a lot of these skew armies that go, hey, if I don't go first, I'm in a world of hurt. And or if I play this match, or if I play on this type of terrain,
Yeah.
I play, if there's a bunch of forests somewhere, I might be in a lot of problems. So I think going into these tournaments, I think that you're going to have to bring more versatile, or you're gonna be one of the players that just embraces the skew and just says,
Yeah,
I am
either
that
embrace
guy.
the skew, do it, or, and I agree with you 100%. However, I feel like somebody who sticks with like a very similar build style that plays like plays for a long time and just gets really good at playing the mission, that in and of itself will usually beat any skew if you can really play and use terrain well and that sort of stuff. And we've had discussions in the war room on how to use terrain to your advantage and how to like make that up. But team events, The epitome of 40K. And if you haven't tried a team event, we're starting to see
Oh,
them become more and more
please
popular.
play.
People are really enjoying hanging out, and it really helps solve the issue of imbalance between factions. And I
100%.
think that's a huge, important part of making the 40K today more like healthier than it ever has been. So let us know what you think with a comment, like in the comments section, because this is a discussion that we've been having for many years, but we'd like you to weigh in on it. Have you gone to a team event? Have you not? Like, what is the pros? What are the cons? Let's get a debate going down in the
Me,
comments,
and
and let's like talk about it.
and there's a lot of people, I myself included, that are my favorite way to play 40K is team events. And the thing is it's also, I love team events also. I'm a top player on this, but no matter if you're a new player, a mid-level player, or an elite level player, team tournaments offer all of those people something. You could play with literally your friends in varying degrees of 40K skill because
Yep.
of the fact that everybody just gets their points. That guy that's your least experienced player, and this is of course point differential tournament in team tournaments, literally you could literally lose every game and be the MVP in a team tournament with
Yep.
differential because you took the worst matchup,
Hmm.
pulled it out of there, and you
Yep.
got points every time, and everybody's excited about it. And it's just you can
And
do
it
different.
feels good because you win or you lose as a team. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And you're hanging out with your buddies and you're just hanging out with friends. And there's like a strategy that you kind of build in when you're like trying to, and I know like the first team event I ever went to was a 5-person team event. And we had one player whose job it was to take the Inari list and take it away and lose. And that was like their only job. And they did it perfectly because then we were able to play against not Inari and have a decent run.
I I love the fact that also, because like right now, once I lose a game, I have to get my mind back in it. But in a team game, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I said, you could lose every game and the team wins every round, and you're just a part of that win, doing
yep,
your best. You know what I mean? Making your best plays. I
exactly.
dream of being able to make a balanced shooting and melee Blood Angels list and doing somewhat well instead of Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard spam, and still being a low tier army. Uh, there's somewhere in the middle. I would put Blood Angels as B tier right now if I was doing a tier list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just because the other two melee armies are just a little bit better than them. Templars and White Scars are probably better at doing both.
Mm-hmm. And so
Uh,
are Grey Knights.
yeah, because
Um,
they also have the option to shoot better. I actually
mm-hmm.
think that Blood Angels have a very powerful trait, but their data sheets. I mean, they still have access to the other data sheets. It's just the fact that you don't get a feel for a Blood Angels army.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to kind
Okay.
of build it in there. So Brad, why don't we go into this weekend that's coming up at 40K today? We've got the Las Vegas team tournament. So let's dive into that.
I'm super psyched. The lists are going in tonight. I got yelled at today. I had to change my list a little bit. The team jumped up on me. I wanted to take whips on all my racks, and they said that if I
The
don't have,
electric corrosive whips.
and if they said if I didn't have fight twice on my Archon, that they wouldn't let me play on the team, and I was out.
Like you just needed your Archon with a husk blade to like be able to fight twice once
Yes,
per game.
yeah. I was like, but I want some whips, and they're three. I lose my whips. They're like, you're losing your whip. I go, the
Do you have
best,
any
the
Trueborn
extra.
though?
What's that?
Have any
I do
Trueborn?
not have any Trueborn. I couldn't.
Yeah, no.
That's why I didn't have any
Yeah.
Trueborn, so I didn't want to take that 15-point upgrade.
No, it makes it. If you're paying
Also,
it, you're not taking Trueborn. It
my
feels bad in
Archon,
your soul.
has frequently forgot to wear his Shadow Field to the battle.
Every Archon ever. Come
Yeah,
on.
you're like 2-up save, 1, he's dead. Damn it! I was gonna fight twice, but I'm already killed because I wore a Shadow Field and a bathrobe. So I should have had some armor underneath that, but I did not.
Exactly.
Diego, that is such. I'm gonna say that's part of this weekend. He says my favorite part of team events is the psychological warfare. Besides the fact that I just try to make my opponents drink too much with me, what I like to do in pairings, a lot of times you have bully lists that you hold in reserve because they're
Yep.
so skewed that they might even be a bad matchup, but a lot of times they're coin flips. All
But they're
planes.
just it's random, and the epitome of random is chaotic. And when someone's trying to plan something, a chaotic element can just throw everything off. You
you can
having that chaotic
and
element
you
can be
can
very
literally
important.
take on a better team. A better, I say better team. You can take on a more experienced, a team that's supposed to win against you and get them out
Mm-hmm.
of their element with basically giving them a couple weird matchups where they're supposed to win that matchup, but it could go very wrong and it messes with the pairings.
Yeah.
That people are not sure about what they should do on this. So there is a lot to be said for that. And a lot of people, especially when you get into the 8-man team events and stuff like that, people will take one list that's just crazily good against a few things and has a lot of bad matchups just to keep it in the mix, to make it
Yep.
just difficult for who they can put down as defenders, who they can attack with, because they have to keep a couple people that can beat that one list that you're talking about that's floating around. So there is a
Yep.
lot of psychological warfare. The pairings are a big deal on that. And the thing is that you also have a team concept. We're doing just win-loss this weekend, so it's a little different in how you're trying to do it. But there's also such a crazy team concept because you're allowed to tell scores that have happened, for instance, in
Mm-hmm.
WTC and stuff like that. So if you're at the end of your games and all of a sudden you know that your team needs a big win, you can try to go for everything. But also the exact on the flip side, Scary and I are playing, and his team lets him know that all we need is a tie from you. Now he just literally goes, puts on the
When he
brakes,
takes the foot off the gas, and I'm
takes
just like, I'm gonna hide and
no
just get all my
mistakes.
points.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
goes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking zero risks. I'm going to get these points, don't care. And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, and that actually makes it harder sometimes on your opponent because hearing that, I now know that I need to play for points so that I have to play more aggressive and he can get back in it. And now that is a part of a psychological, is because now I know that I have to be the aggressor, and it becomes, well, come into my lair. The traps are set,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's such a big deal on that. I love everything about the team tournament. I actually think that non-balanced Blood Angels are great into a team event. Obviously, you can only bring one Marine, so it becomes hard. But if you're in the, and I've said this a million times, always play what you are most experienced with, even if you think one army might be 5 to 10% better, because you're always going to play better with something that you're familiar with.
Something that you're familiar with, that you know the ins and outs, that you kind of like can kind of really maximize. Even like a subpar quote unquote army at a team event tends to do well if it can get points. Even now at team events across the pond, or in Europe, like the Craftworld Eldar, for example, like Harlequin Craftworld Eldar list is still very powerful because it can just avoid all the like crazy things that will murder it, like Adeptus Mechanicus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just takes
So
out a few armies,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, these guys can
yeah,
shoot it really,
a
really
lot.
well.
Yeah, exactly.
I took out my
Super
bad
good.
matches. You're in trouble. Like,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can't spam the same things. And that's why another reason the team events are so good, because I don't, any one army's too powerful. You're like, good. Well, you can only have one of 5, one of 7, one of 8 games with it. So you basically get to take out anything that's too good, too skewed in the meta, and you
Yeah.
don't see a minimum. You can go to a singles tournament and, well, and the Leviathan are in hands list is insanity. So I played it a million times in 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, is in teams, that's just not happening unless you're the guy
No,
that's in charge
you
of
can have
taking
one
out.
person who can be like, "You're gonna take out the Leviathan." They're like, "I got this."
Exactly. So I love it. I said it before, and I know I'm kind of grinded in, but I'm excited. We're playing a team tournament this weekend,
How
and
many teams?
I think there's 80 teams of 5.
80 teams of 5, making it a very, very big team
400
event. I think
folk.
the biggest team event is Talavera, which is like 50 teams of 8 or something like that. Like massive, massive event. That's in Spain. And in Spain, like team events are the main events. Like singles are like little tiny events. Like team events are the big thing.
It's such a big,
Um,
and I love team
yeah,
events. I cannot tell
they're
you
so
how
good.
much I love team events on that. And it, we're going in, and it's funny because of the fact that our team is Jack Harpster, myself, John Lennon, Richard Siegler, and Nick Nadavati. So
A correct squad. Who would you think is like the team to beat other than the Art of War team?
I don't know, because I have not looked through. I looked when lists are released. I will actually go through, and then I can give you a better mojo on that.
I guess that does make sense. But in terms of players, are there any teams that have like good players that are you've kind of like, okay, we
I
have
have
to
not
sort
looked
of
through.
like
That's the thing is I
focus on
haven't looked
those?
at everybody because I didn't want to look until
Anybody.
I saw this because I needed to see who's playing what kind of
I
thing.
guess 80 different teams is going to make it in. Yeah, in Spain, team events is way more popular.
I
Exactly.
and
Like
and that's
Spain,
another
like
reason I love Spain.
yeah,
You're
I
still my
cannot
favorite.
wait to go to Talavera. I was invited to go twice, and I just can't. I haven't
Oh,
been able to go
why are
yet,
you
but I'm
not there
going.
then? Spain's still
It's
my
gonna be
favorite
so
country
good.
that I've been to. One of my favorite.
Yeah,
So good.
it's good. I like it. Well, this weekend is going to be the Las Vegas Open team event, which is going to be crazy cool. We're going to have a lot of content in the War Room, the Art of War Room. So if you haven't signed up for the War Room yet, make sure you check that out. We're
You're
doing
crazy
clinics.
talk if you haven't been there yet.
Tons of stuff. There's lots of stuff. We do clinics every day. We do coaching games. We have coaching services. We do list building and advice. We have a Discord where everybody like chats and you can ask us questions if you want to know anything like that. So make sure you check all that stuff out because it is crazy. There's lots of stuff. It's happening. All of the top players or a lot of the top players are in the Discord. You can like reach out to them, chat with them, list building advice, everything. It's really, really cool.
I
So
I'm
and
so
this
excited to talk about this Spanish
yeah.
thing. You made
Yeah,
me.
it's great.
I actually pulled up all the teams real quick. So now I'm thinking about it. Ooh, the Roots team with Sherwin and Levy. All right,
I
that's a
like it.
strong team.
I just decided I got him to go on a tangent.
That's what I
Normally
do.
I'm the one on tangents.
That's what I do. You said it. Now I have to know. I have to know. I'm terrified
Uh,
now because Brian Jones is bringing his Imperial Knights that he just won a tournament with over the weekend.
mhm, mhm,
So, I mean, there's a lot of bros here. A lot of bros bringing some beats. There's some
mhm, mhm.
serious mojo here. So, the
El Kukui is going to Vegas with his orcs. Very cool. That's fantastic. I'm sure we'll see a lot of you out there. Sadly, I can't go because of the whole border thing, and like this pandemic thing. But eventually I would be able
I'm
to
excited.
travel
I'm a little
across the
nervous. The
land.
fact the good thing is I'm not flying to you guys, so it's a little bit easier for me to sneak
hmm
into the country
hmm
that
hmm
way. But
hmm
I do have to pay for some extra testing apparently. So I cannot wait for this to be gone.
Be a thing of the past.
Nurgle, I'm
It's gonna be
sorry.
good.
You're my least favorite god when it comes to being on Earth. Get out of here.
Stop smiling and sending poxes our way. Stop dinging that big brass bell.
Ugh. But I am looking forward to that. I'm so looking forward to this tournament over the weekend. I just it's a team event. It's my favorite event, and I'm going to New Orleans directly after that. But I'm
That's one
not.
of the GW ones, is
Yep.
that right?
And it's funny because we talked about this. The terrain makes such a big difference.
It
The way
does,
I
yeah.
play, the way the list that I'm going to bring is actually going to be different. And because one's player plays terrain FLG for the teams, and then GW has its particular set terrain that you know what it is,
Mhm.
they're all different on that. What are your thoughts on just different terrain, different places? I mean, I like to have different the boards move and stuff like that. But what do you think about just straight up the player place versus static terrain versus basically having different tables depending on which table you're at?
So I'm having played a lot over the years. I like tables that are not symmetrical. I think that's huge. That's a big thing for me. I think player place terrain helps with that, but it helps you not get completely murdered by terrain,
That's my only
right?
thing about non-symmetrical tables
hmm
is sometimes you just go, oh, they didn't
Sometimes
set
you
this
just
up.
get the wrong pick or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like non-symmetrical tables were it was definitely like I preferred that when it was like a roll and then the person who picked sides went second, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like you picked a side and you had to go second, or you could not pick a side and go first, basically. But then your opponent could take the better table side, right? Like the better terrain. So that was one way of doing it. I like player place terrain. I think that it's developing well and nicely, and it works nicely with when everyone has like the same or very similar terrain. You have enough terrain to do that at an event.
and it's got to be on a
Um,
half. I do like the half thing.
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I've done it before in the Midwest. We used to do a lot of player place terrain, but we did it everywhere on the table, and you got very busted boards, and it really depended on who got to
Mhm.
put the first piece out.
Yeah, like you get to control like your own territory, like your own game space,
Right.
right? So you can be like, okay, I've got one big piece, one small piece, a crater and a forest and like a couple of crates. And you can be like, okay, there's an objective here. I need to hide. Okay, boom, piece of terrain to hide. And then like you can go, okay, I need to jump up this way. I'm going to put another piece here. And you can kind of like it's cool that you can kind of build a train, even though it's not necessarily like, you know, historically like Julius Caesar didn't run up and go, see those trees over there? Move them this way. We need them, we need them over here.
I don't know. They
That
did
didn't
dig out a
happen.
lot of the terrain, though.
Yeah, they dug. He did make forts when he needed them. He was like, I need a fort here. Build
Where
it in
right now?
half a day. Okay, let's do it. So I guess that makes sense. I like the fact that with player place terrain, you can bring fortifications, and so it gives you room to place other units in your army that change the way that like some armies build their terrain, right? Like the battle sanctum for City of the Battle,
Literally
fantastic
least
example.
used slot in the game right now.
100%. But there are some really cool options, right? Like the Space Marine bunkers, like the Hammerfalls. You've got like hopefully the Webway Gate gets an update, but like a Webway Gate or like a Chaos Altar or like stuff like that. It just means that if you wanted to or you found something that was good within your build, you're not constrained by get to a table, oh, I can't place it and you can't put your piece of train down or whatever, and that's always a feel bad moment. You know what I mean? So, um, and then in terms of like the team events, normally like at the WTC, the World Team Championships, you'll have 8 different tables, and they will vary from very heavy pieces of like very heavy terrain boards with like 12 ginormous ruins where you can physically not see anything to like boards that have like more forests or more craters that make it hard for you to maneuver. And that's my favorite because as a defender, you can go, I need a board that does this to give me the best chance against this nasty Dark Eldar army. So give me this table, right? Or, and so you can kind of build it into your strategy based on like a limited pool of tables. And I prefer that. That's my favorite style.
I'm going to segue on this because the question. I love this because it's more of it was the statement, but I'm going to turn it into a question to you because
Yeah.
it was player place terrain can make the single player Warhammer quotes thing with low interaction even worse. I do agree somewhat on that, but here's my question to Mr. Scary on this. Do you think that changes to mission, for instance, having to take the mission secondary, and or having endgame be part of the tournament like it used to be for the end? Not everything. I think that you still have to have, basically progressive in every mission, but having an end game or basically having a revamp of secondaries, because right now everybody takes the same secondaries 90% of the time because you built your
Yep.
army for certain secondaries. If you
Yep.
could only take certain secondaries X amount of times, or if they were random, or
Yep.
if there was just more, or you had to do different things during the game, or just that the mission secondary was taken every time or something. What do you think could change that besides people just going, I built my list for these 3 secondaries no matter what the mission is, and that's what I
Mm.
do, and I don't care what you do. I'm scoring these. And I do understand that that is an issue.
I think in a team event, that's perfect. I think you need that in a team event. You need armies that go, I'm Dark Angels. I'm going to sit here in my side and score 85 to 95 points, and I don't need to kill any of your models,
And that is
right?
an issue.
And I think it is an issue in singles, but I love it in teams.
Yes, because
I
it could
think in
then take on
team
anything.
events it's fantastic because it really helps with the pairings and it helps with that sort of dichotomy of good matchups versus bad matchups. Because there are some armies that can go into that army and go, I'm just gonna destroy you, right? But there are some armies that won't get a lot of points out of that or will have a hard time. And so I think it's healthy in like a team environment. In a single player environment, yeah, I feel like there should be some sort of penalty to just like being able to hide behind a wall and not do anything. right? And kind of
But
score all
that's
your
my thing
points
is
that you
like
need, right?
I feel like you have to add some more variables and or not make you take the
Or
same
like
secondaries.
something like you know what they did in Age of Sigmar. So in Age of Sigmar, they have like you've got your list of secondaries that you can pick every of your player turns, and you can't pick the same one twice. Something like that would force people to get out and move and do stuff,
It was
right?
just you
Where they
have to interact. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like
correct.
right now,
Yeah.
you can literally just go. Like,
Yep.
even for me, for instance, I take Stranglehold in 90% of my games. I take rods in a crap ton of my games.
Yep.
I take the same things. I have a fast army that can move. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Depending, I
Mhm.
might take engage. But
Mhm.
like, there's a handful of secondaries that I take,
Yep.
and I do the same type of thing in
Every
most
game.
of my exactly
Yeah.
in most of my
Yeah,
games.
especially. And yes, that is an issue in like game design, right? And in terms of 40K, like, yeah, why don't you tell us in the chat, like, what would you do to change that sort of thing? How would you adapt it? How would you
100%.
tweak it?
I'd love to hear
You know,
everybody's opinions on
because
this.
that's a part of the discussion as well. So we've got multiple discussions, multiple topics we could think about, and it's definitely something. You know, but Brad, we should have a discussion of this in the war room. You and me, let's just have a full discussion on like secondaries and how to make it better. How about that? I think that'd be a really
I'm down.
cool,
We're doing this
like,
next
that'd
week.
be a really cool, yeah, let's do it.
I'm
Let's
in.
let's just get it done. Yeah.
I love it. I love everything about that because I think that in not to give it poo because I actually think that ninth edition is one of the best editions, very close to being insanity good. I love it, but I think that we do need a few tweaks, and I don't know if that comes from an end game. It's funny that the Swedes have been doing an actually good job of just testing. They're trying out different tournament formats for the missions,
Mhm.
and I love anything locally. In Toledo, my local medal is Toledo, Ohio. He's been doing where you have to take, and multiple game stores have been doing this around here, where you have to take the mission secondary every time.
And there's another, I think there's another caveat to that where you can only take a book secondary from your codex if you're playing against another codex that also has book secondaries.
Yeah,
Like if you're
I've
playing a
seen
ninth
that play.
edition book against each other, then you can take your codex ones. If not, you're not allowed to take those, so
They,
that
they've
you're
they've
both
all
on equal footing.
they've a lot of those have also been doing the fact that you can't double up for Marines. You can't take like a Blood
Mhm.
Angels and a base Marines
Mhm.
codex. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of versions, and I don't, and I'm not saying that any one of these is the way to play or 100% or anything like that. But I do
Yep.
like people looking into different changes, and that's what I'm saying. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about what are the ways to tweak the game right now to make it more interactive, more fun. You know what I mean? Do more things. And the thing is that you don't want to make it so that armies can't play though. You know what I mean? That's why
Yep.
it's such an open meta right now is the fact that you can play your own game and still win. But I would like it to be a little more interactive sometimes because certain armies can just ignore you and just I'm doing this.
And
I'm
if you don't catch on to it quick enough, like you just lose. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh no, if I don't run up and do something about it, I'm just gonna lose. And that can always feel bad at the end of the game. Where like I feel like I did everything I could, but I couldn't. If that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah because if you wait anytime. And we've said this a bunch, man. This is a 40K today, but it's a tactical brilliance. Playing from behind in ninth edition is the worst, literally the worst, especially if you're playing two people of equal talent playing against each other. If one player's playing from behind, they're going to have a terrible time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. So to recap, we had, we talked about new releases. We talked about the events that happened this weekend. We talked about Gen Con. We talked about Knights winning tournaments. We talked about Grey Knights. We talked
New
about
models.
the new models, Helbrecht. Oh, Black Templars. Oh, I'm so excited. Um, can you tell? Can you tell I'm excited? We talked about the team event coming up as well. What in the world, Brad? What in the world? This has been a fantastic 40K today. There's new stuff every week. We do the show every Monday, so make sure you stay tuned
Monday,
for that.
Monday, Monday.
Monday, Monday, Monday.
So give me some word. You know what? I need some words to live by over the weekend at the team tournament.
Are you ready? You ready for this? Actually,
Uh,
no. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I
Uh-oh.
have a good one for you. This is from the old City Fight book.
Uh-oh.
If anybody knows how old this is.
Uh-oh, he's pulling a quote out for
This
me.
is that's right, pulling quotes out for you. Why? Because the quotes in these books were like the coolest thing ever. And I hope there is a quote in here because I definitely want to have one.
I definitely want to have one.
I definitely want there to be one, but apparently they had them regularly apparently there's no quotes in this. What? This is silly. How did I pick the one book with no quotes?
You're killing me, Scary.
No, come on. This is not so this was I'm just gonna leave it with this. You can just tell your opponent, not in the face.
The face. I noticed that the
It's
other
literally
I love that the top quote was annihilated. So, on that, I hope to not hear either one of those over the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the things, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Give us your seriously. You listen to this later on. Give us your comments about what you think in the game. Literally, I'd love to see them, and we'll do some of this next week, and we'll talk about it. So, for everyone, hopefully, I see a bunch of you guys in Vegas. Hang out.
I'm gonna be jealous. I'm jealous. Have fun, Brad. Have fun in Vegas.
Everyone.